All right, guys, how we doing? Sam here with you on a Thursday, November 8th. Now, as it's a Thursday, we look at traditional assets. So we've polled our members, and first up by request is a look at the euro. Now, some interesting things here that are worth noting here. So first, we note we've got this double bottom here that we've just gone through. Now, we've looked at this before. It's very, very technical and clear Elliott counts here. So now I've got this is an 8-hour chart up. So swing low to swing high, it's hard to miss that 5-way, right? So we've got a nice impulse, and this swing low to swing high looks like we're trying to correct that. Now you look here and you look at that and you go, double bottom there. So first question is always, why does it stop there? Well, you could probably talk yourself into this idea. Oh, we got some prior resistance there, but it's not particularly, yeah, you got a little structure there. You can probably start there. That's not quite good enough for me, though. I like to see more technical precision. So I'm in between here, 50 and the 618. Not that we couldn't, that double bottom couldn't be real, and we could be, there's a couple of different directions that this could go, but I want to know, why do we stop there? So it's a bit of a, if you will, a treasure hunt, trying to figure out what. So these swings are almost always, there's rarely a pivot that is not technically related to a prior pivot. So when I see something like this and just eyeballing it, I just kind of look at this and go, looks about equidistant. So I would start with just something simple and just say, well, let's compare the length of that swing to the length of this swing here. So now you'll see if I pull these over, right? So there's 100%. So it's within ticks of being absolute parity here as we hit that. Now you start building it. Now you say, oh, okay, well then I've got some prior resistance there. That tags it to the tick. So then even though I've got that. Now this would be non-traditional pull, yet I certainly wouldn't keep me from checking it. So if I go swing high, swing low, get that right on there. That's to the tick, right? So I guess sort of the idea being that you want to, it's not always the traditional application here that'll reveal some of this. It's the non-traditional. That's not a swing relationship that would necessarily be something that people that are still learning technical analysis might think to go there. So I just want to use that example to show you. So now I've got some more reasonable explanation as to why we've stopped here. Now the double bottom, is it a test? Could well be. So let's go from our 8-hour. So now that we've got this established as technically significant, let's pull this off and let's dig into this lower level here. So we know we've got technical pivots here. So let's go from the 8-hour. Let's go to the 1 hour here. I think we can see this pretty well. So let me get that cleared up. So it looks like we've got a couple of ABCs, so just at first glance, as you look at it here, at least in terms of what we can see so far, on the idea that we completed here. So let's see if you're going to be able to see that. So this would be the 4, and we completed down here in this 5. It was quite technical. So let me just show you this. So the other variable here, working from this high here. So if I grab this, and I'm looking, well, let's do it 2 ways. So the first is trying to identify from the 2 to the 3. Did we get something technical down here? All right, so here's our proposed 2 up here, 0 here. So 1, ABC into the 2. How do we look? Well, we go right to the 38, and then we go right to target. So you come back here and you look, okay, that's now 3 very technical components, including a double bottom, including this pivot, including that 100%, the median line tag. Now I've got a lot of technical data here so that I understand why it stops here. So with that established, now that we've got technical pivots here, it doesn't mean we can't blow through them, because of course we do have the swing low to swing high. We've got the golden zone sitting down here, and we could of course start creating a little channel. Looks like is in play here. This looks somewhat interesting here. I might check both of these here, but if we're going that direction, so now we're right, of course, so that puts us right at the center line. So if I had a modified shift set of median lines here, let's see if I can show it to you this way. So that's one way to look at it, but let's go to Modified shift. So you see what happens with a modified shift. So it's identical to a channel. So here's the tag of the median line, right? So when you see that, so if you're drawing a channel and then you tag that up, you can do it either way, right? So the median or modified shift is a channel. So just a preference, or if you have a preference. Some people really like to look at the channel. I tend to like looking at the tag of that median line. So now we add this tag of the median line. Now how many was that? 5 technical confluence points that we have here. That's how you build a technical pivot. All right, so let's go back down to that 1 hour and see what's there as we're coming down. Well, it sure does look. Well, let me clear some of this off here since we know where we're coming from. Now, with my chart, I would leave that on, or I'd have them on different time frames, so I didn't lose track of that. But for the sake of this video here, if we look at this coming down, so this 3-wave, this corrective action, we can certainly look at that. Working swing low to swing high, is it technical? Well, here's our 50. So it looks like it's a slight front run on the entry and a slight front run on the target. Maybe, right? That means we're always trying to anticipate what they did, so that's likely what you're looking at there is a front run on this target. This is close enough. That's likely where they bought it. And you can see here there's prior support here kicked in again. We never know until we see a potential reaction here. So the fact that we're a little short, but we see this kind of reaction, that suggests to me that's likely what happened there. So coming from that pivot, same thing, right? It's not complicated. Same thing coming down. Are we technical? Well, look, here's the 50. Now we go target to the tick, but we've got one more little kick back down. Maybe it's just a test of this low. But I can look from that. If this is an AB, well, nice. If that's an A, that couldn't be any better for that B wave, or 50 damn near to the tick. So that's about a 2-tick front run on that. Remember, I'm on a 60-minute here, and down we go hard in 5. We get the technical pivot here, but if we're not done, we get this. So in we go to that double bottom. Okay, all well and good. That sure looks like an ABC just went in. Of course, since we're looking for fib confluence down here and relationships between swings, I would certainly check that. Kind of in between. So if this has got another leg down, that would be a reasonable spot. The 1272, if we get through the 100, the 1272 would be the next spot. So you've got, this whole area down here to be looking for if this is going to have another leg down. So let's think about that. So where are we? If this is ABC, well, we're potentially done here. But so far, coming off of that, that sure looks corrective. In fact, I'm in a short position off of that, just off of that alone. So I'm going to show you here. All right, so today now with the Fed data, all right, so this is what I started here. I added here. So with the Fed, it's really not a great day to be looking at a new trade because we've got the Fed statement coming later here. But this is potentially now, if we break here, all right, that's a reasonable target. Well, here's the algo target, but somewhere in that range. So now we tighten this up and say, that would put us in a decent spot to be looking for a front run on the 618. Certainly possible. And then again, just kind of constructing this. Looks, if I go here, just trying to put these channels together. So if we're going to break down here, what would that do to the count? Well, then we're not done here, right? So this all gets relabeled. So potentially that goes down, this goes down, this becomes the 3, this becomes the 4. Well, if we do that, what do we have? We have a diagonal. So it's technical here. It's deep, but it's technical. So maybe you make that case, but this certainly looks more like an impulse. So I'm not sure I like that as well. So you're kind of in, you have, this is not long enough to be a third. So you're trying to reduce sorry, wrong one. So if we look at this, so I think, well, maybe it's a 1-2. Well, here's 100 down here as we looked at. So it's not long enough. There's a potential 1 here. So we came through an ABC. You'd anticipate if this has got more legs that maybe this is 1-2. Well, if that's the case, it doesn't play as well because this can't be our third. So if you're thinking, oh, 1-2, it would have to be 1-2 again, which would suggest much lower prices. So right now, it's... Again, you're too late for the short. It's too early for a buy. So of course, it's no surprise. We get look at that intersection. We get very technical trading here. But is the Elliott count helping you here? So I've got 3 followed by 3. So something's not done. Now the fact that we've double bottomed down here reduces the probability. Well, I suppose we could have a flat. So we could have an expanded flat. So well, let's see. Wouldn't even necessarily be expanded. So if this is the larger degree A, this could be our B, and then we're going up for a C. So that's certainly possible. If we pull that back out and think about would that make sense, and based on the prior data, that actually would make sense. So we have the potential for a flat correction here. So we'd have 3, 3, and then we'd be looking for 5 here. It's certainly possible. And then you try and construct the whole thing, put it together, and say, would that make sense? Would that fit with our Elliott count here as we have it now? Knowing, right, this could easily get relabeled. Some of this is this 5-way. We don't have to worry about this. This 3, after this 5, the thought was this could have been 1, 2, and we were off to the 3. It doesn't happen, so we get an ABC here. Is that correcting this 5? Well, it's very shallow. Not that it's not possible, but what looks more probable is that we've got this going in. A, B, and then the C would be up here. So we'd get a flat correction. Certainly possible, and that's a reasonable target for it right here at the 50. So I'm not necessarily saying it's time to be a buyer there, but let's go back down. Let's get to that 30-minute and really dig in there. So if you're thinking to the long side, well, it doesn't look great for the long. So your best case would be that you've got some sort of a diagonal going in. Let's clean this up a little bit. Pull that. So it certainly doesn't, I don't even think we've got 100 here if I look here. So if I take that to here, well, nope, not long enough. So you can't have 1, 2, 3. We have to see here now what's going to happen. So again, there's no, I can't recommend a trade here right now based on what we've got, even though, right, I know this is going to, as we look here, all right, so we're at the 50. We're in between the 50 and the 618. I just certainly not with the Fed. With the Fed statement coming later this afternoon, that's not a spot to look for a fresh long, in my view. All right, so I mean, have at it if you're bullish, but I just don't think that looks tradable. Just working off of these swings off of that 618, right? So this was the first opportunity. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to follow along with the algos. That's all I'm doing. So this was the initial. Looked good. I had to go underwater here to add more stops right here. It worked out, right? It doesn't always, but it worked out this time. So if we're going to continue down here, well, that's a reasonable target, but that's going to change what we see here. So we got to rethink the count because we can't be finished down here. If this is going to go A, B, could we have a diagonal? I guess we could have a diagonal here. So let's look at it here. So we potentially now, it's symmetry is not great, but it's potentially there. The 2 compared to the 4, you know, it's possible, right? It's possible that you'd have a diagonal. Although again, this looks more impulsive than it does an ABC. You could probably dig it out. Excuse me. Dig it out of there. You're gonna have to allow for somewhat unusual structure there, and that you're going to have the expanded A wave here, the extension in the A, and then a shallow C. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, but again, I'd wait to see how the market reacts to whatever the Fed says today. Right? That the dollar will, of course, be what's most responsive. And then as we come down here, if we're going to take out this low, then we know we've got to reconsider the entire count. Right now, we've just got mixed messages. It's 3s followed by 3s followed by 3s, but within those 3s, very technical, 50, golden zone. So you would anticipate that this is going to go to target unless we get past this 65, right? That would stop me out of my trade. But this is a reasonable target down here. So could that be the 3? Yeah. Is this the 4? I think that's less likely. Less likely that's going to trade as a diagonal, even though it's possible. I just think it's less probable. So I would wait on this. No new trade. If you're in it and you're short, well, good. Right? It'd be tight with the stop here. You could probably tighten up here if you are short. So as far as a new trade, I might look at it down here if we come down to this golden zone. But this once we get some resolution out of here, if we're going to break this low, this double bottom, then we can reconsider a new Elliott count based on what this shape takes. And do we come down in 5? Do we get an impulse or an ending diagonal coming down here to finish this into our algo target and our 618 here? So thinking back to where I think we're going, which is more likely a flat, right? But if this breaks, if this double bottom breaks, then that is invalidated. I suppose we could have an expansion, but that becomes much less probable. So I'd sit tight on this. Let's get through the Fed statement, see how the market responds, and then potentially now you've got trades setting up both below the market here if we get through this double bottom, and then potentially setting up here, although that's going to be quite a wait to get up here and get to that big 50 if we're going to push up and break this count and start heading higher. All right, that's what I see, guys. I hope that's helpful to you. I'd prefer if I can tee up a trade for you. It's not there right now. So with that, I'll break. I'll be back. We've got also we're going to look at crude today, so I'll be back to you in a little bit.